Oh, hello. I'm getting more like Sir Les Patterson every day. I've uh, already got kebab sauce down the front, and I've got a lovely beverage, non-alcoholic, in my shoestring shed mug, available in the merch stores below. Plug, plug. Anyway, did I tell you the story about a lovely young lady called Joan Collins? Loves perfume, loves it. Do you know what she puts behind her ears to attract the menfolk? Her ankles. Anyway, I'm on with Charlie. I've just popped the carbs on. I've not... oh, God, that first sip of coffee in the morning really does loosen things up. Lovely. What can we use for a shelf? The top of Phyllis's top box on a beautiful shoestring shed sticker. I had those custom made, actually. They're not in the merch store, although there are stickers in the merch store, but they're very small. Anyway, piss flaps. Yes, I've popped the carbs on. I haven't tightened the clamps, and I just wanted to pop some fuel through it just to see if she'd cough and bark. And she, we've got to make a solid decision on this. I think Charlie is a he, don't you? I don't know. Anyway, I have got it coughing and bark. I've got to set the carbs up. I've got to set the butterflies up and all this lot. And I need to double check the wiring going to the coils, because I've literally just put them back as I found them. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way round, dear Jimmy. No, we'll get off that. So yeah, that's what I've done. So yes, I've popped them on. I've introduced some fuel with the remote oleum fuel line, and I've also wazzed a bit of brake clean and stuff down its gob. And so far, I've got to piss around with the idle and get it to the bit where it will actually run on all four, because I am not convinced it is, to get it coughing off. And the trouble is, I've been trying for about half an hour, and I've worn the battery down again, so I've got to charge the battery. So I shall whip it off and charge it. But this is where we are at the minute. See, she's nearly there. She's coughing, and she's doing all... She's doing the I really do want to start bit, which is good. So I think what I'm going to do is, I'm fairly sure it's getting fuel. I'm fairly sure the float bowls are filling. Won't know till I try and drain one. But yeah, I mean, all those were cleaned out and everything, so they should... Hand gestures, all those should be good. So I'm just going to try and stick a bit more fuel down it and see what happens. But I am really wearing the battery down, and obviously if you wear the battery down, you get a piss weak spark, and it doesn't help anything. If you know the battery's wearing down, just give up, charge the battery, and come back another day, and it will probably go bing. Well, it won't go bing, because V4s don't go bing. I've just tried to get through the gap and knock the bodywork off where I was storing it. Story of my life. Fuckwit. Anyway, Phyllis is actually ready to go back. I've done the valves because she's going to go back standard. You know, we've played that game, learned that lesson. So at some point, probably at the weekend, I shall put Phyllis back together, and then if Charlie needs to come back on the ramp or anything like that, so be it. At the end of the month, Olive has her MOT, and the only issue I've really got is I need to have a look at that switch gear, because that switch, the passing switch, when we last strapped it down, the strap creeped. I have got handlebar straps that go over the handlebar, and it must have creeped, and it's just popped that switch out the housing. I just want to have a look at that, because I do like everything working as it should, but I can't foresee major problems for the MOT. I've got to double check Phyllis's tyres and stuff like that, make sure they're all the tread depth is all legal, but Phyllis should go through the MOT, and Spurt is the last. I think he's end of April May time before he's due. Can't foresee many problems with that, but you don't know till you go, do you? You don't know till you go. So yes, I'm going to go and finish my beverage, and oh, what shall I do? Oh, I don't know. I'll find something to bide the time.
One eternity later.
Eat. A lot of you. Oh, shall we start with that frog in her throat? Should stop giving blowjobs to Charles Aznavour. Oh, you've got to be a certain age to get that. I found both clips for the piston, so he's there, he's all ready to go, and all that. Let's put him there. Those clips are utter sods to get in as well. So yes, I'll be having a battle. What I've got to make sure is the ring gaps here. Ideally, each ring, the gap, needs to be 90 degrees round from the next one, because if they're all in line, the gases will just go and you get an effect like no compression. So I've got to sort that out before it goes on. You do that last minute before the old cylinder goes on. Right, I've had a bit of a bugger about, as you can see. I blackened the bolts. I thought, I wasn't going to bother doing anything, and I thought, do you know what? I've got some shite chrome effect spray, which is bound to be utterly terrible. We can see it. Just the paint on the cap is reflectioning the overhead lampage. So I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. So I gave them a quick wire wheel with the old Dremel. Gave them a wipe over with some acetate, because I was going to do them in cylinder black, which was the only engine paint I could actually get at the time. I'm probably going to scrape these bubbles off and redo the top, because that's the only part that's got them. That's muck. So I gave them a spray, and I oil blackened the bolts, so they've all got black heads. Yes. What it does is you get your bolt, clean it up, give it a wipe, and then eat it up with the old whatever method, but I used the old blow torch, and then you just drop it in a bit of oil. I used a little bit of fork oil in there, and I just held them with the pliers, and then dropped it, and it goes all bubbly fizzly. And then what it does, it puts a coating on the bolt, and it looks quite nice. And it's a free and easy way to rejuvenate a bolt, really. So that's where I'm at. The next stage is putting it all back together.
A few moments later.
And another thing, because I always forget to tell you everything, is underneath I've cleaned up the little bit of carbon that were on the valves and all that lot, and then I put the spark plug in, upended it, and I've put a little bit of acetate in there, left it for an hour, and it didn't go down, so that's good. Valves are gas tight. Shoot, unlike my bottom. So it's all ready to go back on. I don't know whether I've filmed this explanation before. Probably. Anyway, I just put a bit of cheapy chrome paint on those bits, and I've blackened the bolts, and I did that. I filled this with fork oil, basically. Heated the bolts up with Bernie Bunsen, and then you drop them in the oil, and they go whoosh, and they come out black. It's sort of a nice little protective coating, but I think they look good as well. Phyllis is never going to look stunning. I want it to be functional. You know, functional first, fluffery last. I've just got out of the big bore kit the what we call the gudgeon pin clips in the UK. If you're anywhere else, you might call them a wrist pin clip, or that fucking bastard when it goes pinging across the room, as they invariably do. It does say in the manual actually to replace these clips when you do take the piston out, so I thought, well, I'll rob the clips out of the kit. I mean, to be fair, I've got one of them in, and it's a really good. It ain't moving. It ain't coming out anytime soon. But I was watching this drag racer, not a transvestite, a drag strip. No, that makes it worse, Jim. Anyway, I was watching this person who races a motorcycle in a straight line very, very quickly, and he was showing you tips on his engine builds and stuff like that. And one of the things he says is and it applies to cars, bikes, anything with a pistone, is when you put these clips in, you orientate them north-south. The opening is orientated north and south, and the argument was it's to do with inertia, because while the piston's going, and you think in some little Honda 254 cylinders, 21,000 RPM, or a normal motorbike, 15,000 RPM is not uncommon. I don't know what Phyllis revs to. I think it's 6 or 7. It's a low revving engine, but they're hard working engines. But he said orientate the cutout either north or south. Now oh, you little fuck, you couldn't sit still for 2 seconds, could you? You wouldn't let it lie. I'll get to the point eventually. One of these days I will do a highly professional video which is to the point, but nope. So anyway, his idea was it's inertia. If the piston's going like this, and the opening is either top or bottom, it can move, and they do move in their clips, but they can't compress. They can't compress enough and risk falling out. And the argument being that if they were east or west, and of course you're going jiggy 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 jig, the inertia force is then squeezing them together. So it's squeezing the ring and they can come out. And he says he was told that by a guy that used to build, like traffic light hot rods. Where it was, to the floor, what up? And he was self-taught, and he noticed every time he really scratched his head on this, and every time he put a circlip in like that, he'd lose one, or that would be the cause of his failure. And then of course the wrist pin can walk and score the cylinder, so he was wondering why he was scoring all these cylinders, and then he'd find a mashed up wrist pin somewhere in the crankcase or somewhere like that. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I'm guessing these style are a lot easier to put in with the little tang, because you can get the tail up and then squeeze the tang and put it in. So there's the gap. So that'd be south, I'm guessing. So yeah, we'll see when it comes to putting it back together. I'm bound to be swearing at it. So yes, so that's it for this portion. Liz, would you like to say anything?
I'd just like to say that I thought the old Queen Mother was a lovely old bird.
Good morning, folks. It's 7:20 of the AM on Friday morning. I've just finished my nighttime working shift, and I thought, bugger it, I'll come in the shed while it's quiet, and I'll just start to put Phyllis back together. I've just had a quick perusal of the Wank Shop manual, and one thing it says to do before the barrel goes on is to put a tiny little blob of silicone at the top there and at the bottom there, just where the case is split. That's pretty common in motorbikes. When I did the CBR and stuff like that, there are certain places where you have to just put tiny little blob of silicone. The clutch cover on a ZX10, for example, you have to put a tiny little blob on the end, just where the case is horizontally split. These are vertically split. So I'm going to do that. I've got the black high temperature, because black silicone is a lot sexier than red silicone.
12 seconds later.
Top end and decompression and all that bollocks is all back together again, and I have jiggery buggered it, so don't worry about the timing marks, because obviously they can move slightly when you try and just nip these up. I had actually got I think I'd installed that wrong. She's always had really, really good compression on, and it's been hard to kick over. Fine on the electronical start, but she's always been a bastard to kick over. And I think I'd actually installed this decompression cam wrong last time I put the head on, because I didn't have the manual then either. So I was sort of going on photographs when I took it apart. So whether it was put back together incorrectly the last time, I don't know. Anyway, it's I'm just going to torculate the head bolts. So let's put you down on the ground. Facing, let's get the right size socket first. Yeah, it's at 25 Newton meters for the heads, and I think they're something like 10, these little ones. But yes, I'll put you down here. What a view! Well folks, that's all the jiggery buggery done, but it's time for bed for Jiminy. What I've got to do now, put the loom back on the injectors, spark plug in, put the exhaust on, and then I can give it a test fire. I'm just charging the battery because it's down. So yes, so I will return to this when I awaken. Well folks, I'm just putting the loom and stuff back on. It's all got to be like tucked away over here, out of the way. I'm just putting the exhaust on. I have cranked the engine over by hand, make sure nothing's going clunk or anything like that, and we're alright on that mark. And now I'm just tightening the exhaust nuts up. Awkwardly, these nuts for some reason are 13mm. I don't know whether I had an original. Oh yeah, 13mm in the original set I got. I've had these ratchet spanners for years, and I got them when they were on offer from Alfred's, and they've probably been one of the best things I've ever bought, because they save loads of time. When you can get the ring end on, they save no end of time. Awkwardly for the Aprilia, I can't remember what it was for. It might have been brake line fittings actually, the original brake line fittings. I needed to buy an 11mm. So yes, it's a little way to go on this exhaust. So I'll bring you back. I've got to plug the old O2 sensor that goes up round here and all into here, and then all the electrical gubbinses all live up here. I've put the cylinder head temperature thing back on because I'm obviously I'm hopelessly optimistic. Well, let me just turn the fan heater off so you can hear me. Yes, as usual, I'm creating a mess. Yes, let's get a little. Yes, come on then, out the way. Right, well, folks, I think have I fucking forgot anything? I think it's time. We might be able to give it a go. Oh, I've not plugged the exhaust sensor in. Hang on one moment, please.
A few moments later.
Okay, everything's back on. Let's see if it'll do the doings. Now I've spun it over dry, so I know nothing's knocking. It's whether it'll ever run again. Well, just in case, let's open the door, shall we? And on the 5th day, God said, "Let there be internal combustion engines." Wow! Actually sounding better than she did before. She was really tappety before. Nice. Yeah. It's on fast idle at the minute, so it should knock down the RPMage in a second. There you go. Yeah. Oh, you growling little tiger. Well, I'm happy with that. It's running. Well, that's the major goal over and done with. Well, she's all back. She's all standard. Right. I suppose now I'd better tidy all my mess up, put the bodywork on, and then just give it a look over for the MOT. I've got to tighten the back bolt on the exhaustage. But yeah, generally, yeah, all good. We'll end this one here then. At last, I sort all that shite out. Oh, I didn't know I was filming myself. Let's try that again, shall we? Take two. Oh, look, nice clear bench. Lovely. I've got to sort all that shit out. Like I say, I'm giving up with the bodywork. That needs a new fairing. And fortunately, there are good replicas out there. It's just that one's been axed about so much. Fuck it off. Get a new one. Anyway, the rebuild went really well, and all good. I've got no screws left over or anything like that from another job, or anything like that. And yeah, I'm really happy. She's out there. I've run it up to temperature and all that lot, and yeah. Oh, fuck.